Welcome back to the Have Not Room. I'm Ben. I'm joined as always here with Chad and Brian, and we are here with a special episode to cover the first. Well, it's special technically. On paper, it should
On
be
paper,
special.
it was supposed to be a special episode,
Yeah,
but
covering the first ever American triple eviction, American style triple eviction. Big Brother Canada has had triple evictions, so the U.S. can't really claim it's first ever. But this is the first time we've ever seen this style of triple eviction, which is 2 back-to-back doubles. We're here to talk about, briefly mention that Davon was evicted last week, but then in his triple eviction, we see Kevin and then David and then Danny leaving the house tonight. Chad, what are your first thoughts coming out of this 2-hour triple eviction night?
I mean, I love the triple eviction. It was kind of a surprise to them, although production did kind of hint at it and then accidentally show it in the preview. So, I mean, it was a nice surprise. I enjoyed it. I mean, it was very predictable though, so it was kind of like But I mean, if they keep doing this, like for, probably better seasons, this is awesome. But in terms of tonight, it was cool, but we predicted every single play down to the noms. So.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Brian?
I love it on paper. I hated the actual execution. Well, I guess I can't say I hate it because it did feel like for a moment there we almost got Nicole voted off, but then Enzo bitched out. I don't understand. He's always talking about being a big player and this is your shot, and you blew it. So that's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely the most intrigue we had during the night. Everything else was relatively run-of-the-mill and predictable based off of comp outcomes. The only real suspense that we got was when Christmas and Tyler did vote Nicole out over David. And we got maybe a 5 to 10 second pause before Enzo voted where Tyler seemed to corner him in the hallway and try and get him to also vote out Nicole. But he did not end up doing that.
I thought it was going to happen, man. I really did.
I didn't, but yeah, I'm glad that you got a moment of excitement. There was no way that Enzo. As we've seen in this past week, we saw last week in the Thursday episode and then also again in the Sunday episode, Enzo is 100% loyal to Cody first and foremost, which is kind of a recurring theme this season. And we kind of saw that with him revealing the second half of the Wise Guys alliance to him, which was supposed to be kept a secret between him and Memphis. I don't think that Enzo is ever going to do something against Cody without first clearing it with him and not make a last-minute judgment call in the hallway because Tyler told him to do something. I mean, I think the first thing we could talk about, I guess we should quickly eulogize Davon and Kevin, Brian and my winner picks. The only player remaining who is a winner pick of one of the three of us at this point now is Cody, who is Chad's winner pick from the preseason. Going strong, looking very good. You might.
Very good.
So, obviously, if we're looking at success rate in terms of preseason predictions, I think that Chad takes that with an A++ at this point.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, even if Cody doesn't win this, he's been a dominant force. So, So, Brian, I'll give you the floor, I guess, to eulogize Davon, who you're a huge fan of and who is your winner pick for this season.
Yeah, so obviously, very disappointing outcome for all of us Davon fans. She used the platform she was provided with really well. I wish that she could have kind of seen the game better. I think her first 2 seasons kind of set her up in a bad way to where she got in her own head that she had these flawless reads constantly, and that certainly wasn't the case this season. And her inability to adjust those reads or like accept that she could be wrong led for some unfortunate moments, specifically yelling at David when David, was on her side. But ultimately, it was just, her eviction and Kevin's eviction for that matter is just another, disappointing outcome from like just that Outsiders Alliance not being able to win comps. Just brutal. Just a brutal, like, one safety suite and one veto for the non-committee, and the rest has been won by the committee or
two vetoes.
Enzo. Two vetoes.
Davon and Kevin have each one a veto. But
yes, yeah. So it's just like just a brutal run of comps, and it's at a certain point, if you're not in the numbers, like with Big Brother, I've always loved the show because if you're not in the numbers, you can still seize power through the competitions. But at a certain point, if you're not in the numbers and you never win any competitions, like GG, there's nothing you can do. There's no way you can possibly recover. And, we almost got Janelle and we almost got Davon winning HOH, so it just didn't happen. We almost got Kaiser winning. He got decently close, but it wasn't to be. The committee reigned supreme. Ben, what do you think? Kevin going out tonight?
Yeah, I mean, obviously disappointing. Kevin really never had any kind of foothold in the season. He briefly had a relationship with Ian, who he thought could try and be a way for him to weasel his way into the majority, and then Ian got himself into hot water and was pretty quickly voted out. Mm-hmm. So that didn't work out. Obviously, him and Davon had very bad reads early on because of the situation where Kevin was on the block against Keisha in the first week, and Janelle and Kaiser were advocating for Kevin to go over Keisha. That really put a blockade in front of him trying to work with Kaiser and Janelle going forward, which really set back his game and kind of like put him even further into a corner. But like you mentioned, it didn't really, like, all of those social positioning decisions really didn't end up mattering because we have this committee alliance that formed very quickly early on in the first week. It was solidified in week 2 with Memphis' HOH win. And they've literally won every competition except for the competition except for the HOH that Enzo won, and Enzo was basically like an unofficial member of the seventh member of the committee. And now you see at the final 7, it's the committee plus Enzo. So that's, when Danny tonight is the first player to be evicted who had previously won an HOH this season. So it's just all of the competition wins and all of the power. It's been concentrated in a small group of people, and they really just have had a stronghold in the game and have never let go.
Yeah, that's an insane stat, by the way, that you got to the final 7 and all the HOHs for the whole season were still there. That's fucking wild. And Nicole didn't even win an HOH, so really like 6 of the 7.
Yep.
Only so.
Nicole's still in the final 6 with no competition wins. The only person left in the game at this point to have not won a competition. Actually, the only person, as of Ian getting evicted, to have never won a competition, because Davon and Kevin did each won a veto. So yeah, I mean, it's been definitely a boring and predictable season. There's still a month left at this point. The committee has now turned on itself with Tyler evicting Danny. And there is kind of a schism down the middle. There's a lot of interesting relationships here. There's a chance, I'm not getting my hopes up, there is a chance the final month of the season could be interesting, at least in terms of, like, these are 6 of the better players from the season. They have basically run the show the whole way, and just trying to figure out which of them at this point is going to actually take control and seize it. On the other hand, it might just come down to competition wins, and there might be very little drama. But you never know.
Yeah. I guess let's talk a little bit about that. Memphis winning his third HOH. Very impressive. Don't like Memphis, but I am, as Janelle said, you gotta hand it to him. He's a beast. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah. What do you think, Chad, about Memphis, I guess, winning this HOH? I don't know if anybody was really trying to throw it at this point in this kind of a chaotic situation, but what do you think about his decision at the final 8 to target David, which was his plan coming into this? He had been speculating it being a double, and his plan coming into this potential double was to put David and Nicole on the block. What do you think of that decision?
Yeah, I mean, Memphis is the only player left, aside from maybe Enzo and kind of Tyler, that scares me in a final 2 with Cody. But, 3 HOH wins. Again, you got to hand it to him. Voting out David and, nominating him and everything, I mean, I guess it's an okay move. I mean, he's wanted the guy out since week 2. So we saw it coming. I don't think it's, like, a play, really, because David's, like, the only one, if left out of that at 8, who really doesn't have a record with the house at all. Like, if he's an easy person you take to the end, assuming Memphis doesn't take him or does take him. So I think it's like a okay move. It's it gets you one step closer. Increases your chance from 1-8 to 1-7. Great, but I mean, I think Memphis has got a really good shot now. And he's really the main contender now next to Cody to win this thing.
Yeah, I think that based off of competition outcomes, I think Christmas, first of all, was very fortunate in the competition outcomes. And also, by extension, Memphis was very fortunate because Christmas survived this triple eviction, that he is in a very good spot in this endgame, in my opinion, with Christmas here, who is somebody who is going to be a shield in front of him for people like Enzo and Cody and Nicole, and is somebody that he can likely beat if he ends up in the final 2 with her, and it's definitely another option, because while she does have a final 2 with Tyler, as Danny called out correctly, she is also very close to Memphis. So, I do think Memphis is in a very solid spot coming out of this triple. What was your opinion on Memphis's move here, Brian?
I mean, I said it last time when he nommed David. It makes sense for him. Like, I feel like when you nom somebody, if you can get that person out, like the person who survives your nominations, like the sooner you can get them out, the better. And this is really the last chance for someone to not get blood on their hands in this game. So I guess he took it. With the numbers getting so small, David was never going to work with Memphis long term. So there was no point in him keeping David, and making a bigger move, in my opinion. As much as I hate it, as much as I want like something exciting, I can't say that it was a bad move on his part by any means. And now I think he's got a really good shot. I think it's going to be Tyler, Christmas, Memphis versus Cody, Enzo, Nicole. Coming down to it, obviously Tyler has to sit out HOH, but I wouldn't put it past Memphis to win another HOH immediately after this. So, like, he's in a great position. If he can get to the end with Christmas, I think he's got this, like, 100%.
Yeah, I do agree with that 3-3 split, and I also think that all 3 of Cody, Enzo, and Nicole are most likely to put up Tyler and Christmas of those 3 and leave Memphis off of the block, at least initially. So in that situation, I think that he's shown himself to be one of the main competitive threats in a house full of competitive threats, and he's, I don't think, going to be a target, at least in this coming week, unless a very specific set of competition wins happens, which would be probably a Cody or Nicole HOH and then a Christmas or Tyler veto.
Right.
So, yeah, I think he's good. I think he's in the final 5 with like a pretty good shot of making Final Four, and from there he might comp out. He might be sitting at the end against Cody or Tyler, who the jury might be bitter against. He might be sitting at the end against Christmas, who the jury does not seem to like either. I do think that he has a okay shot of beating anyone left in the house except maybe Enzo. But Enzo also, a lot of people, people like him personally, and he has a good social game. But a lot of people, especially in the last week or so, have started talking about how Enzo's strategic game is very lacking. And I think if Memphis lays out the fact that he started the committee alliance, he put together this wise guys plan, and all 4 of those pieces are still on the board right now, and that actually plays out in some positive way for him to get him into that end game, like, he might actually have a shot. So I think that we have talked about previously that at this point it was or at previous points it had been a 2-man race between Cody and Enzo. I do think that Memphis is the 3rd horse in the race at this point.
Yeah, no doubt. Ben, as the foremost BB historian of our podcast, can you give us Danis Legacy over her 3 seasons?
Danis Legacy is very interesting. She's an incredibly volatile player in terms of her, how she's played in the house and also how she's been viewed by the audience, not only just across 3 seasons, but even just within this season itself. Her, popularity has been very much all over the place. I think she comes out with mostly positive kind of legacy. I do think that we can talk about her gameplay and the reason that she was evicted. I think the reason she was evicted is entirely her own fault. She was lucky to have made the final 7. She was lucky to have made the final 11, to be frank. So the fact that she made it this far is pretty impressive and fortunate, because she could have easily gone home the week that Bailey did with a number of different HOH wins. So, yeah, I think that for this season, her legacy is that she got into an alliance, she got incredibly comfortable, she played incredibly messy to the point where her alliance turned on her, but the comp wins or the comp outcomes didn't really play out in a way where that was actually going to come back to bite her. She got a crumb of a possibility of getting herself back into the game with her own HOH win, and then she completely screwed that week up. She played that week basically as badly as she possibly could have. And because of her decisions before that week that led her into a bad position, that she had to get bailed out by the HOH win, and then by her decisions in the HOH win week, where she completely squandered all of her possibility to regain control. She sees herself evicted here in 7th place, which is pretty much her apex in terms of this is the absolute best she could have done given her gameplay this season. I think that's kind of classic Dani, right? I think in both of her previous seasons, she made it further than she otherwise would have given her gameplay because of circumstances outside of her control. In season 8, she made it to the final 2, largely because of various things outside of her control. Her relationship with her father really put her in a positive position to be able to control some of the end game. The America's Player twist really allowed Dick and Danielle to maintain and gain a lot of power in some key decisions in the post jury in BB13. Obviously, losing her dad right at the start of the game would not necessarily be ideal, but because of the twist of BB13, that basically gave her a free ride to jury.
Not basically.
Yeah,
she got a free ride to jury.
Yeah, she did get a free ride to jury, yes.
Yeah.
But with the key partner twist, I don't know what was it called?
Golden key.
Golden key twist, yeah.
Yeah.
So would she have gone out pre-jury without that? It's possible. There was also, a string of HOH wins in that season that were very favorable to her, even though the outcomes didn't necessarily pan out in a way that was favorable to her, similar to this season. So yeah, I think that's kind of Danis Legacy, in my opinion, where she's an average, maybe even potentially below average player who's been very fortunate in all 3 of her seasons to make it much farther than maybe she deserves to.
Damn. I mean, that's what I was looking for. That's the kind of hard-hitting analysis.
Look, I came into the season a big Dani fan. I almost made her my winner pick. I guess technically
it wouldn't have mattered, right?
Yeah, I mean, they basically went out, within 2 hours of each other, so it wouldn't have mattered that much. And I think that Dani played worse with the cards she was dealt than Kevin did. But yeah, I mean, I think that after 3 seasons of watching her, I think that would be foolish to say that she's like a strong Big Brother player. She's definitely like a legend as a character, for sure, though.
Kind of weird we got a Jordan shout out, right? That was random.
True. Yeah.
I've been complaining in our group chat about how they made her picture on the wall, her with her dunce cap from BB13. I don't know why they hate Jordan so much, but kind of like Julie kind of implied like, Kevin, you lost to Jordan. Wow, right? Like, at least this wasn't that bad.
I don't know if that was intentional shade or if it was just Julie kind of being Julie, where she, like, many times throughout the season has just kind of, like, awkwardly stated Big Brother facts. Like, hey guys, I know this thing about this show that I've hosted for 20 years. You played in Big Brother 11, which was won by Jordan.
It really did feel like that, where it's like, if, like, input BB11, output Jordan 1 BB11.
Yeah.
The more you know.
Chenbot algorithm, yeah.
Oh, man. I just wanted to bring that up because we were like, what the fuck was that? Why?
So stupid.
Oh, and not to rail on Julie, but at the point where the triple eviction has been spoiled by Will and also spoiled by the lettering behind her, maybe we don't spend like 15 seconds doing a weird, you gotta think 3 steps ahead. Get it? But all the house guys are like, yeah, Julie, we get it. We know it's a triple eviction. Oh my God.
Have you heard of the number 3?
Yeah.
It's a great one. It comes between 2 and 4.
I'm a big Julie defender, but tonight I was just like, God, she is fucking awful at her job.
She's gotta go. She's gotta go.
I don't know if she's gotta go, but I can't imagine what this show would be with a competent host. I guess it would be BB Canada. Like,
Fair enough.
Jesus.
They want in there.
Hey, I'm here for that. Oh man, that was just a lot. This whole night was just a lot.
Yeah, I mean, at the start of the night, I know you texted saying, like, everyone ready? And I was like, I'm ready to be let down. Basically.
Hey, when it comes to letting you down, Big Brother 22 never lets you down, Ben.
It's true, yeah.
You can count on them for that.
A consistent and stable force in a chaotic world, right? A consistent and stable force of disappointment.
That's honestly, like, once Christmas won the veto, I was just like, why did I think anything else would happen? Like, why did I let myself think that Memphis Christmas wouldn't be the outcome of this first part of the HOH?
Yeah.
Once she won, that was it. I was like, this whole episode is just gonna go to like exactly as planned, and nothing's gonna change. And BB22 sucks.
Yeah, we did kind of glide over David's eviction here. We talked about Memphis's decision, but I think that it's important to point out that David got incredibly unlucky in the outcomes during this, at least in the first half. Like, there was always going to be a chance that he would be, sniped off in the second, I guess, the third of this triple eviction. Right. But he was incredibly unlucky to end up going second out of 3 here. This was pretty much the only HOH veto outcome in which he is the evictee, in my opinion. Basically, it was Memphis Christmas and Memphis were the only 2 outcomes, in my opinion, where David is the first of two to be evicted here. So yeah, definitely very unlucky for him. Basically, everybody, every other HOH will have taken a shot internally within the committee, and with that veto draw, obviously him and Nicole take themselves off the block. And I think that Tyler likely takes David off the block. Danny likely takes Nicole off the block. And the likely renom will either be Danny or Tyler, who I think in both cases would go home over either David or Nicole. So, yeah, I think that we had a situation where 6 out of 7 HOH outcomes, David is relatively safe. 4 out of 6 veto outcomes, David is relatively safe, if not definitely safe. And he got unlucky. He hit the 1 in 21 to get evicted in the first or in the second third of this triple eviction.
I mean, Dave's just not a lucky BB player to begin with. Like, he had, 16 people at the beginning of BB21. 4 people get nominated to play in the first comp. And then he has a 1 in 4 shot of being the person to lose that comp to be the first person evicted. And he is. Everything just goes wrong for David in the Big Brother house. So he's got that 10K. So I guess there is one thing. Everyone was wearing their shirts of I think he should have just worn the 10K shirt all around just to rub it in everyone's face because of how salty they were.
Yeah, very salty.
But hey, if we're to eulogize David here, we can just say he is a shot in the dark, and that is it.
He did make it to day 58, and we have to give him credit for that. He was very unfairly put on an all-star season for his second chance instead of a regular season where maybe you have a couple of the first night 1 boots come back and try to actually play the game instead of just getting railroaded. He didn't know what he was doing. He's not even like Cameron, who's a super fan of the show. So in terms of that, he did pretty great. He's never in any power. He never won any comps except for the power comp. But, I hope he got what he needed out of this experience after being forced to leave night 1 and be in fucking camp comeback, which seemed really bad, really awful.
Yeah, I think David outperformed a lot of expectations. Early on the season, he definitely was visibly struggling, and for somebody who wasn't in this power alliance, he came very close to outlasting somebody in the power alliance, which is more than basically anyone else in the season can say. He was any other comp outcome away from potentially even being in the final 6 here with a decent shot of even making it further. He just couldn't win a comp when it mattered, and it's gonna be David, I guess. I don't know. It sucks.
It does.
I was rooting for him at that point. It was very very little else to root for. So
yep, it was hilarious. All right, David, you got this, and then immediately he goes out of the competition. It's of course. Oh man. So, anything else you want to touch on for this one?
We can talk about this is the first time since the start of the season where we've had a conversation right after an eviction before the full week is played out. So I guess we can give maybe our predictions for this upcoming week and where we're kind of going to see the season going, maybe. So, what do you guys think? Who do you think is the most likely person to come in 6th place?
6th?
Most likely person to be evicted 1 week.
Yeah, I see. It's tough. I see Nicole, kind of. Christmas, more so than Nicole. And, maybe Tyler. I think Memphis is good. I think Cody's fine. I think Enzo is good. I think you probably see a Cody HOH, maybe. I don't know. It's tough. It depends what kind of comp it is. I mean, it has to be a physical comp, right? Based on tonight's two back-to-back same comps.
Yeah, two back-to-back question comps in a row. It's probably not going to be mental. It is probably going to be some kind of physical, maybe like slip and slide. I could see them doing something like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know why they would do that without advertising it, unless they're just not going to show it on feeds. But yeah, maybe some kind of physical endurance style, which I think that Cody would be the most likely winner of. Yeah.
Yeah, because Tyler's can't play. So
Tyler's
if it's slip and slide, it's Cody for sure. I mean, maybe Enzo, but I don't think he could pull it off. I think endurance-wise, Cody beats him.
Yeah, I think it's either going to be Nicole or Tyler, depending on who wins HOH, which side wins the HOH. Obviously, veto and stuff, but I think Tyler could be in trouble just because he's the biggest threat in the house on paper, outside of Cody. Whether or not he's the biggest threat actually to win, debatable, but he's an easy person to be like, yo, we gotta get Tyler out. We're so close to the end. Tyler could totally win, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. I mean, I think I would take Memphis and Christmas to win HOH over Cody, Enzo, and Nicole. But just generally, if it's not the slip and slide, if it's just any comp all the way down, I think those two have a better chance of winning an HOH than the other three. Just because Enzo and Nicole are almost just liabilities in terms of comp, so it's all on Cody.
I mean, Enzo's okay.
Yeah, he's okay. But he's not. I don't feel like he's been close to winning anything in a while.
No, sure, no. He's definitely worse than Memphis and Christmas. I think that in order, it's Memphis, Cody 1, 2 in some order, and then Christmas 3. So I agree. But
we'll see.
I think
it could be the
Christmas.
I think it could be like the chicken coop comp, you know, where they have to stick their hands, pull the egg. It's going to be some sort of long-term comp for sure, whether it's slip and slide, chicken coop, or.
Do you think anybody watched BB21 from this group? When Jackson broke the comp by breaking the yolk to make the egg roll more evenly? Because Jackson's broken the comp. If you pay attention, you'll be able to do well in that. Now, you know.
Yeah, no, I do think that they've all watched BB21. I don't know how many of them, if any, would have picked up on that strategy for that competition. Maybe Tyler, but Tyler is not playing. So I don't know of the 5 playing if any of them would have studied competitions to that level or even remember that in detail of last season.
Considering nobody did the OTIV strategy of making a pile of the things, probably you're right.
I do think though they slightly broke that strategy in this season because halfway through, I think they dropped new stuff from the ceiling or from the abyss above them, or
they made the interns throw beach balls.
Yeah. So there was a clip in the episode of new beach balls falling down, and I believe there were also new shirts in there. So
gotcha.
But that is still, I think, a serviceable strategy. So yeah, we'll see. I do think that Christmas is more likely to go than Tyler if somebody like Cody wins an HOH, just because the people voting would be Memphis, Enzo, and Nicole. And I think that Enzo and Nicole would both prefer to see Christmas go over Tyler. Nicole, because she has personal beef with Christmas. As we saw in the episode, Danny told her, get Christmas out first if I leave. And also Enzo, we've seen talk to Cody specifically about getting Christmas out because it would force Memphis to come to the final 3 with them, basically, and cut off that option from him. So yeah, I think that Christmas is probably maybe 50 to 60% likely to go, and I think Nicole is probably somewhere in the remaining of that, and then Tyler is maybe 10 to 20%. I don't know, something like that.
Right.
But yeah, I do think Memphis, Cody, and Enzo are relatively safe, save for some very specific comp outcomes.
Right. All right. Well, I don't have anything else to add. You guys, good? It wasn't a total wash, but it wasn't as exciting as we hoped. It was going to be.
I mean, my expectations were low.
Right.
It was good if you had no expectations. So yeah, it was all right. Whatever.
That seems to be a pattern right now.
Yeah. Keep it low on GB22.
All right, Ben, where can they find you online? If there's
You can find me on social media at Ben Sharon. That's Sharon with 2 R's.
And Chad?
You can find me on Instagram at ChadleyJP and on Twitter at ChadPerry25. It should be right here.
Yeah.
Here.
The Twitter will be there for sure. You can follow me on Twitter at @theFakeBMar, that's BMARR. You can follow me on Instagram at SuperMarBro. You can follow the channel on Instagram at WickedGoodEverything, on Twitter at WGEverything, on Twitch at twitch.tv/WickedGoodEverything, and just tell everyone you know about this podcast. You know, we need to get more listens. Rate us on iTunes, Spotify, all that stuff. And we will see you very soon, because we recorded this one so late to make room for the triple eviction. So, until next time.